Everyone, please gather round, for we are gathered here today. Did I actually write gathered twice in my intro? Did I literally just fuck this up in the first two sentences?
Seems like it.
I did. We're going to actually do that. No, we're not going to do that again. We don't do things again on this podcast. We're going to just roll with it as we always do. So everyone gather around as we are gathered here today to celebrate our very first episode of Fairly KickAss Coverlutions. The goal is simple. We take an oft-covered song and discuss all of the many forms and shapes that it has taken at the hands of many different artists throughout the years. Faithful covers to the original song? Yeah, we got those. More unique covers? Check. Covers that are just off the wall in every imaginable way? Maybe. We don't know. I don't know. I don't know if those guys know, those guys being Dan and Jay. They have their own lists. I have my list. And we're going to find out who has the list to rule them all, so to speak. Dan, Jay, welcome. Listeners, welcome. If you're hearing this, it was at least good enough to post, so that's a good thing. But keep that in mind. This might be a little rough the first go around. We're going to be refining it as we always do with these kind of pilot episodes, so to speak. But y'all are in on the ground floor. You know, you're getting the somewhat behind the curtain look at the latest in the Fairly KickAss catalog.
Woot. For the first go round, we went with this, what is potentially the most daunting covered song of all time.
Indeed.
Which was, may or may not have been a smart move on our part.
You want to start out with the bang. You want to start out with something that is going to be challenging, right? Like it forces us to put our best feet forward. I think we did in this case. I feel pretty good about it. That song was Yesterday off of the Beatles album Help, released in 1965. You all know it. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Every single one of you knows this song. Every single one of you has heard at least a handful of covers of this song already. Some that we are going to talk about and some that you are going to hear for the first time. As far as format goes for this whole shebang, it's going to be in a round, as many episodes that we do are in a round. We're going to throw out a song. We're going to give a couple of sentences about that song. We got a lot of songs to get through, so we're going to keep it brief for once in our lives. The other two hosts have veto power. If they feel that a track doesn't meet that cover criteria, then it's gone. I don't think we're going to have that problem. Honestly, I really don't. But we do tend to get a little squirrely sometimes, so definitely want to retain that option for the group. Lather, rinse, repeat, go on and on until one of us inevitably runs out of songs. That person sucks and is eliminated from the game. That then becomes a head-to-head competition between the remaining two hosts, and whoever is last host standing will be the first inaugural Coverlutions champion of the world of the podcast. An illustrious honor that gets you absolutely nothing and changes your life not a single bit.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Prestigious, right?
Yeah.
So prestigious. Sorry, I am here. I just want to, it's taken me a while to recover because you had a well thought out and well expressed intro to this podcast, which is way too professional for anything that's ever been done. So I was kind of stunned into silence.
Yeah, I was kind of just like mesmerized and wanting him to.
That's just going to let you cook.
Yeah.
No, it's rare for us to do anything that is good on this podcast, but this might be the first thing. This might be the one. I am pulling up our batting order right now, and we are going to start with Dan, who's going to throw out his first cover, followed by moi, with Jay bringing up the rear there for the order. But we're going to be breezing through this, so keep up. Not y'all. I'm talking about the listeners. I know you'll keep up.
That's right. I like this because I also have, since I have first pick, I also can figure out exactly what's going to knock the most off of y'all's list. So I'm going to go with what I would figure would be the definitive cover as far as I'm concerned, and go with the unique spin, the original a cappella style. Of course, it is the Boys to Men cover of Yesterday. It's such an impressive listen. And as someone who is trying to cover it, frustratingly difficult to find actual transcriptions of this. Like, I just wanted some sheet music, man. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
The first version of this song I ever heard as a kid. I suspect that many people growing up in the 90s would echo that same sentiment, to be honest. Yeah.
I mean, I have parents, so I definitely heard the original first, but
That's fair. I have parents.
Jesus.
This fucking guy. I do too, you know.
prove it. I have nothing. No. You talked about us getting squirrely. This is how we get squirrely. No.
True.
It was the first song I put on my list.
Yeah, that was the hands. So you said yesterday, like, yeah, this is the first thing. Obviously, if we're ranking them, this was going to be number one.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You did bring up an interesting point, Dan, as you were talking about the strategy of this episode, too, that you want to save the ones that you feel are going to be less likely to be chosen by someone else, because at the end of the day, those might be your aces in the hole. You definitely don't want to use the ones that are kind of the rare ones, the random ones, the road less traveled ones right out of the gate. So I am going to go with my first choice being one that I feel like is also fairly popular, I hope, ? Just because all of this artist stuff was fairly popular. And that's going to be the cover by one Kenny G.
I knew you were going to put that on your list.
I figured you were going to put it on yours.
I didn't, because I knew you were going to.
I've been swindled already. He's my guy. I couldn't not put him on the list. I feel like it's a very common cover, just again, because Kenny G was such a popular artist in his heyday that really anything he did was going to get a lot of listens and a lot of spins.
The only thing I wrote down was better than the average elevator music cover. I'm sure there have been a ton of those over the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
No
had a bunch. He's had a bunch.
It was the last thing I put on the goddamn list.
Oh. Jay, it's on to you. What do you got next?
You know what? I'll go with one that was probably popular at the time, but to me was more of a surprise simply because it was like the most James Bondsian of the covers that I chose. Not the one you're shaking your head at, though, Dan. At least I don't think so. I went with Tom Jones' cover from 1967.
Oh.
You are correct. That's not the one I'm shaking my head.
Yeah, I was already marking something else off.
I know that's the next one on my list, so I'm getting ready to cross that off. But I went with Tom Jones because it sounded like a Bond theme when he did it, and I loved that about it.
Very nice.
The game is the game, and since you all have already tipped your hand, I'm going to take one off everybody's list because the other Bond, the other version that sounded like a Bond theme from the build all the way up to the final explosion, the chorus was, of course, Shirley Bassey.
Yeah, saw that coming.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't tell me it's in your list, and I won't pick it.
You would have picked it anyway.
First time we're doing it. We don't know what we're doing. Yeah, I mean, elegant, effortless, just fucking effortless. If you listen to this, like, it's just, not that it's a surprise. It's Shirley Bassey, but holy moly. So good.
The epitome of this phrase, indefatigable.
First
try, motherfuckers.
I love it.
Like a goddamn professional, as per usual.
Yes, a professional who said this $10 word, then called you motherfuckers. Very professional of me.
Which is a $6 word.
It's true.
Fair.
When lots of Scrabble games with that one. An artist who probably has never played Scrabble before, although I don't know that as a fact, is one Frank Sinatra, who also had a very Frank Sinatra cover of Yesterday. Again, one that I'm assuming was popular, kind of like you said, Jay, popular in its time. Maybe not as much today, but certainly one that has stood the test of time because it's Frank Sinatra. Come on.
Yeah, of course.
An interesting thing I noted on that was that it would have actually mood-wise fit perfectly on the Wee Small Hours of the Morning album.
Yeah, seriously. You're not wrong. Jay, we got you up next.
Yeah, I'm going to try to tackle a couple of y'all's list, and I'm going to go with Ray Charles, also in 67. He did it on, I believe it was on a late night show, but it wound up on his record too. And it's just cool. Like you think about like what he does with his voice, and his version is just, it's the epitome. It's the coolest version of the song, in my opinion.
I can't dispute that. I can't dispute that at all.
And I think his voice is his voice, but the orchestration is what kind of sets this one apart from the rest of the crop.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dan, what about your rest of your crop? What do you got next?
Well, I'm curious as to what You know what? Maybe one that will hit, and we'll see at this one, because it's definitely a cover for someone. It's not for me, but I'll call it out because Neil Diamond did this song too.
Yeah, he did.
And he did such an overdone and overwrought version of it that it's like it's just cranked up to maximum ennui, and it just, to me, it kills it for me. But I could see how it could be someone's favorite version of the song.
Yeah, it's extra Neil Diamond, I think.
It's a lot of
Neil Diamond's all over the place on this song.
Yeah, he does. And I'm with you. It's not for me either, to the point where I did not put it on my list.
Yeah, same actually.
No, okay. I'm going to be first out, so.
No, sir, you are absolutely not.
So I'll feel bad, but then I'll also say I can also clock out early. So 50-50.
Man, this is already tough. I have at least 3 or 4 that I think are on your list, but then I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to go with the Placido Domingo. 33% of the 3 tenors. Absolutely kills it, as he had throughout his entire career. It's unsurprising. It's the thing that was surprising about this is that it is such a good song for someone with such vocal power as Placido Domingo has. Because I didn't think it would work, but it did.
I actually had that on my list of things to listen to, but couldn't find it quickly, so I just moved on to something else and never got to go back to it.
I did listen to it and passed on it. Not because... So to me, he fell into that category of people who did the song. I almost did something really stupid. He did it too well. Right? Like, I don't know. I would try to explain that, but it sounds dumb.
I'm not saying a word.
Did you just outthink yourself here?
I did, but it's not on my list, so it works in my favor.
That's fair. It doesn't cost you one.
Right.
I mean, I'm staying in a glass house, so you won't hear a peep from me.
Touche.
Oh, well, if not Placido Domingo, Jay, what do you have on your list up next?
As far as, you know what, I'll try to throw out a faithful cover here, because most of what I put on this list is stuff that I thought was a little more out of the box. So I'll throw out a faithful cover of the tune here and go with the version that Joan Baez did.
That's a good choice.
Buttery smooth voice early in her career and just beautiful.
You can't beat it. I mean,
right.
One of the things that's really interesting about this list, and I guess it's not surprising, but like you could probably just name an artist of any kind in any genre, and they've probably done a cover of the song.
You know what? I would say the same thing, except I really wanted a Me First in the Gimme Gimmes version, and they didn't do it.
Of all the bands to do covers,
Right.
Wow, are you guys the only ones that didn't?
Oh
Right.
my gosh. If you're listening, I know you are. Get to it. Get in the studio. Send it to us at fairlykickass@gmail.com. Send us the tapes. Dan, if you don't mind sending us your next choice.
I know I'm only knocking one off my own list, but you mentioned like the most straightforward cover on your list, and I have one, and it's probably the most exacting cover of everything. Like, it's pretty dead on, and it's the last name that you expect me to come from, because that's Molly Hatchet.
No, it's number 5 on my list.
And I knew it.
You got me.
I listened to it and then checked twice to make sure that was actually the band, because it is damn near an exact cover. I'm like, wait, what? Who? Hang on.
Right.
Not that I ever thought they were incapable. Uncapable? Wow.
Incapable.
English good. That they were incapable of doing a cover so faithful, but like they're not the band that you would expect to have that in their back pocket.
No. Honestly, the thing you think of with Molly Hatchet is grandiose drum pieces and long guitar solos, and this has neither of those things.
No.
It's just so straightforward.
It is. It is dead on. Like I said, it feels like it's almost note for note.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty close.
Well, let me see if I can get note for note and finally knock one off of both of your lists. One that I probably should have went with earlier, to be fair, because if it doesn't end up on either of your lists, then I might just quit this whole game. And that is the wonderful cover by En Vogue.
Yeah.
Super fun, super personalized. The group, they own the song and make it their own without making it into something that it's not, which is a really hard balancing act, as we know, since we've listened to like a million of these covers in the last week or so.
Yeah. That's the first time you've hit my list, by the way.
I don't know that you've hit mine yet, to be totally honest.
Beauty.
Please pause while you repeat the band name, because I'm apparently getting even more deaf by the minute.
En Vogue.
Okay, thank you.
You made me think that I mispronounced it. En Vogue?
Nope.
En Vogue.
En Vogue.
Gods. Okay.
No
sorry.
light switch raves on this episode. We've been over this.
I can't. It's back there. All right. Sorry. Game on.
Yeah, they put that on Funky Divas, right?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe you are correct.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
All right.
I believe you are also up to bat.
All right. How about the ultimate, the absolute ultimate harmonica version of this song done by Toots Thielemans?
I can see the name. I have to look up the spelling.
Theilemans.
Oh, you actually put your stuff in alphabetical order. Man, you were way over prepared, weren't you?
Thielemans, there we go.
It was another one of those on the list I looked at and went, all right, but I never got back to it.
Same.
It's quite a cool cover because there's a lot of like different instrumentation that had to go on to make it so that the harmonica popped on that main melody, which made it a really cool thing to listen to. Not just because the harmonica part is so good, but also because everything around it had to be good to make that happen.
Also, it's always fun to see stage names and compare those to the actual name. This one might be one of the more far out examples that I've seen. One Jean-Baptiste Frederick Isidore Baron Thielemans, otherwise known as Toots.
Toots. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
it's too many names. He made a good decision.
For sure. Dan, did you make a good decision with your next item on the bids?
I feel like there's a couple of like the big ones I could probably burn off. So I suppose I can try that. And it's another straight cover that's unique because of the vocalist behind it. And that's Elvis's version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it was released as a live track, all of the aesthetics of late career Elvis are there. They're on full display. And he has a way with a ballad. Like, it doesn't really matter who wrote it for him. He has a way with his phrasing and his where he accents things. It just has a way with a ballad.
Is it weird that I don't like that one?
No, because I know a lot of people actually who are kind of feel that way about Elvis, who are kind of like, yeah, but if it's not Viva Las Vegas, he sucked, or something like on that line. And then
I mean, like, Viva Las Vegas would not be the song that that I chose for that. But
first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, I do like Elvis. I didn't care for that, for him doing that song, for him doing Yesterday. It felt, I don't know.
I mean, it's a good point. Even great artists can't do every single song. There are some artists that just would cover this song and it would be awful.
Speaking of which, no.
do I have one of those?
Let's go.
I do, but I think it's probably a little more rare, so I'm going to keep that one in the back pocket. Instead, I'm going to go with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra version. Somehow it maintains a good bit of character, which I feel is tough in more paint by number stylings of like orchestral covers of songs. One that I played with putting on my list or not, because it is an orchestral cover and isn't an actual vocal cover. But spoiler, it's not the only instrumental cover that I have on my list. So if y'all let this slide, then I feel a lot better about several songs on my list.
I like that you chose an instrumental cover. I don't. I feel like an old curmudgeon over here. Like, I don't like these songs. No, I don't like that version of it. I do have some instrumental versions on my list, just not that one.
Nice.
I mean, I'm the same way. Like, I'm not going to disallow a instrumental version because it's still technically a cover. I mean, it's still you're still doing the song, you're still doing the melody. In fact, one of my favorite Beatles covers of all time is a jazzy instrumental version of Dear Prudence.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to knock that just because the words aren't there. My brain can put those in.
Right. Yeah, and truth be told, that's probably one of the more faithful covers on my list, even without the vocals. So,
Right, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Jay, are we going the faithful or less faithful route with your next item?
You know what? Just for the sake of if people listening to this are trying to follow along and like look up these versions, I'll throw one out that like might mix things up a little bit. So a little unfaithful. How about Romanian metal band Grass?
How is that not the Romanian metal band I thought you were going to pick?
Oh my God. Is there another one I think they're Romanian. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought they were Romanian. I've actually never heard an original tune from Grass. I've only heard 2 songs. I've heard their cover of Yesterday and their cover of Iron Maiden's Wrathchild.
Oof, it was one that I listened to, and it was actually so bad that I didn't put it on my list for that reason. But I distinctly remember Romanian metal, and I remember that the band was not called Grass. I'll have to look up the name of the band because it was an atrocity.
I think they were Romanian. I'll look that up while we hear about Dan's next pick.
That's an interesting point. That's a bit of a sidebar. And maybe we can come back to it if you want to put more time on that. But I don't know if there was anything that I listened to that was so bad that I was like, nah, I can't write, like there are definitely a couple that I'm like, okay, I could see this being a worthwhile thing. And there's some positive aspects to it, but I wouldn't come back to it. But nothing where I was like, this is too bad for it to even repeat its name.
Yeah. This qualified as too bad. Mad Driven was the band. They were very little known. They've already broken up. Just don't. That will not be on our ride along playlist.
I am glad I didn't then, because I had them on a list of people to listen to.
You know what? I may have combined 2 things. I'm pretty sure Grass is from New York. I may have combined when I listened to Mad Driven and Grass together, because I think that has to have been what I did.
Oh,
it looks like they're from Brooklyn. So my bad. That's my fault.
Apologies to Grass, but not to Mad Driven.
Right.
They deserve nothing.
That's what that whole version sounded like. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, gives me the heebie-jeebies just remembering it. Dan, are we going to get the heebie-jeebies from your next pick?
I don't think so. I was trying to, as we sit here, trying to say, I'll go with that cover that I said. I was like, it's not necessarily my thing, but like to me, it also comes off as the Ray Charles cover with some jazzier instrumentation, just a major downgrade on the vocalist, and that's the Dr. John version.
Damn you, sir! I should have said it. I thought I was going to be alone in the Dr. John version.
I said I like the actual instrumentation.
Love it.
But Dr. John just wasn't doing it for me.
I couldn't get into the vocals at all.
I love Dr. John. I love him so much.
That one definitely was not for me. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely did not hit at all.
What did for you then?
So what hit for me is it's going to be the Perry Como. Mixes up the arrangement a little bit, which is something I didn't hear in any of the other tracks that I listened to. I started with the bridge and led into the first verse from there. Doesn't really change much, honestly, besides the fact that it's a little different than everything else. But it wasn't bad. It was fine. It was Perry Como. It was fine. And hopefully it was on your lists.
It was not.
No, sir. No.
Son of a bitch.
But go ahead. I got the follow up. Just hold that. No, put a pin in that. I have a follow up to you for that.
For Perry,
but it's
Como?
Not my turn. Yes.
Okay. I guess you know what? I'll mix it up again. I went down a rabbit hole of looking for oddball covers of the song that were, a little outside what you might expect to see. So I have one that is called Tiu Varik. The artist is Tiu Varik. The song is called I Laveel, which is Yesterday in Estonian. This song is beautiful in Estonian. She's from Tallinn, and it's just, it's gorgeous. Like, it's a faithful cover just in her language, which is beautiful. I highly recommend.
We clearly weren't thinking far enough outside the box on this one.
Clearly, Dan. Clearly. I think we've been had, my friend.
There were 2,200 options to work with.
Yeah, well, and that's like I commented before we hit the record button, they're all the same. So I had to go for ones that weren't the same because I lost interest or I was worried I was going to lose interest. Like
sure.
there were like 99 Perry Comos on there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that has scrambled my brain and makes me want to just crumble up this entire spreadsheet and throw it away. It's like I've got no shot. Dan, you had a follow-up to
I have a Perry Como follow-up where I had to rewrite a joke because I
things.
found my Perry Como cover. Only it's Perry Como from Wish. Because that's Marty Robbins' version.
Damn it. Oh, that hurts.
You've got really?
Yes. That one was one of my aces in the hole, man.
Oh my God. Well, to be fair to him, I'm sure that Mr. Robbins had a long and distinguished career in vocal music and standards because that's where that's at. This is the beautiful music version of the song. He even gets like operatic in some of his phrases, but that is what you would hear it on the old beautiful music station. And if you're a big enough radio nerd to know what the hell I'm talking about, good on you.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess being called Discount Perry Como, like there are worse things to be called in your life, you know?
So the joke was originally I found the Pat Boone from Wish cover.
Okay, I see that. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, did anybody have Pat Boone on their list?
I did. You know what? Here's the thing. I couldn't find because I wanted to write that joke. So I went and looked to see it and I could not find a Pat Boone cover.
Oh yeah, he totally did it.
I don't doubt that he did. I just couldn't find it when I was looking for it.
Fair enough. It did not make my list, so
no, because you said Perry Como. I'm like, I can go whiter than Perry Como.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
What about since we're going to maybe stay in the country sphere for a little bit, Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard.
Yeah. Yep.
And it shouldn't work. Those vocals from those two individuals should not work with the song, but goddamn it does.
And that was the only reason the song is appealing is because of the voices that are doing it. I mean, it is a very simple 80s sounding style country ballad, but because of the voices on the track, it's appealing.
Willie Nelson could sing the dictionary.
Very true.
And it would be appealing.
That's very true. That's very true.
I concur with Jay. Like it's just it's so good. And even like the Merle Haggard doesn't quite reach the Willie Nelson levels, but it still is a very nice backdrop.
Oh yeah, he's got a fantastic voice. It's not quite as endearing as Willie's.
Yeah,
I think
that's
is
such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to need you to put it on your next pick as well.
You know what? I'll follow down that country route. I didn't put the Willie and Merle version on my list because I thought one of you might. So I went with the version done by Chet Atkins. That finger picking, man. It's you can't beat that.
Dude, it's fucking sublime. The Nashville sound owes everything to Chet.
Oh yeah.
Like 2 or 3 other people max, but Chet was the man.
Yep.
Dan, are you going to be the man with your next pick?
Well, it seems I may as well get these all out of the way. I'll go with one of the more popular versions and one of the ones most often cited as one of the best because it's an absolutely devastating version. Because look, Paul McCartney was melancholy on Yesterday when he sang about his troubles. Marvin Gaye was absolutely crushed and belted out all of that in his cover.
As I looked through my list, and this came to me maybe about 5 or 10 minutes ago, I realized that I somehow forgot to write that one down. But then I thought certainly one of them, and I didn't want to go backsies and do it like after we already started because that didn't feel fair. And so as we kept going, I kept feeling like really shitty. Like, oh my God, what if they didn't actually put it on their list? I could have gotten this one through of all the songs, but yeah, you have taken care of that, so thank you. Yeah, crushing, just absolutely devastating. You nailed it. Let me see if I can nail one real quick. Let me make sure I jot that one down. Do y'all have the Peanuts guy on your list? Perhaps
the Peanuts
Vince
guy?
Guaraldi?
That's the one.
No, we do not.
So this cover by Vince Guaraldi is slow and unendearing in every sense of the word. and I don't have a but. That's literally, this is the worst song on my list. I wanted to like it. I did. I tried to like it. I did, but it did not happen for me. And I didn't know if it was just a me thing, which is why I put it on. It definitely wasn't objectively bad, like Mad Driven. But
you know, I saw that Guaraldi did it. Like I saw it on like a master list of covers of yesterday, and I just skip right over top of it, like with no intention of listening to it.
Correct answer.
I did the same thing, just expecting a pretty standard cover. Like it's going to be a jazz cover. I already have enough of those. Don't need any more. Thanks.
I haven't even hit my jazz covers yet. They're all I got left.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
All right. Oh,
What about you?
I say I'm thinking, do I go with a jazz cover to try to knock one off of your list, or do I wait and see? No. I won't go that route. I'll go the doo-woppy Motown route and go with the impressions. Sure. The vocals are just the arrangement is a little bit different, the way they approached the vocals, and that I appreciated that about their version.
Yeah, I think I had a couple on my list that are very similar in the sense of not expect. I think you mentioned it with Molly Hatchet, like not expecting the subtlety of the cover based on the artists themselves, but it's still working just as well.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're getting close to the nitty gritty, boys.
I'm still good.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find. I'm sure you are.
I got a lot.
I think we all know who's going to win. This is a second place battle now.
Well, it depends on whether or not you want to say I'm disqualified for thinking so far afield.
You had an Estonian cover, my man. Right. I might consider that ruling. I have heard Tallinn is a beautiful city, though, for what it's worth.
I'd like to go someday.
Yeah, same.
And the language is just it's very cool.
Yes.
I guess I was especially halfway down my list when I said the most unique version on my list so far, although it's well within Sarah Vaughan's parameters. But there are elements of both making alterations to the song so that her style is evident, as well as building on and beyond the simple structure of the original. Because I was really not expecting to like a vocal standard reworking of it, but here we are.
Right on. I like Sarah Vaughan's version of the ones that are like you said, like vocal standard versions. I like that one.
Agreed.
Preferred hers to Perry Como.
No, yeah, obviously.
Also agreed. I mean, I can't really. Again, I'm not going to go to the mat for Perry Como. So
that's fair.
Am I going to go to the mat for my next choice?
What he's not telling us is that Perry Como is the subject of our next one song.
Oh, hell yes. Putting it on the list, sprinting to the list to put it
Damn
on.
It.
We'll do a deep dive. Let's just go on.
I'll be absent that day.
It wasn't me.
That's
I was
Shaggy.
on the moon.
Steve. I am going to go with an artist that I admittedly was not familiar with, but one that has kind of been in the background of a lot of jazz music of her time, in the background of a lot of different artists' recordings. One that, as far as I could tell from my research, was not as popular as she was until she passed away, sadly, back in 1996. But that is the Ava Cassidy version. Sounded somewhat like an understated Mariah Carey is kind of how I have it in my notes. Subtle and delightful in equal doses, with nicely crescendoing vocals and piano music to match during the chorus bridge. I don't know exactly what to call that part of the song, but it works. It elevates, and it's really, really nice. It's one of the better covers I had on my list.
Yeah, it's a very sweet cover of the song.
That's probably the best way to put that. Although for whatever reason, like I said, there's too much of something in there that I just couldn't include it. I don't know why.
Yeah, me too. I didn't include it, but I did enjoy it. But I think it was just too sweet for me.
Yeah, I tend to be the more of the fan of the sweet songs of the three of us, I think. So it definitely hit my register.
Yeah, that tracks. Although I think calling her a subtle Mariah Carey might be a stretch.
Yeah, that one I was having a problem with.
Subtle in terms of the fact that the power of the song is not there. The Mariah Carey of the Mariah. It sounded like Mariah Carey, but just not as good. I was trying to find a diplomatic way to put it. Like, it was better than Mariah Carey karaoke. Mariah karaoke?
Nice.
Interesting. I'll have to write that down for later. Jay, I'm guessing you have something very nice for your next hit.
Yeah, I'll go with one that is Okay, not so far afield. I'll go with one that's a little more infield here and go with the live from Rooster Tail's Upper Deck in 1966, the Temptations version.
Very nice.
Very cool. A lot of sort of ad lib stuff in between the song's actual lyrics. You could tell they were having fun with it and just playing with the crowd. And that was wonderful to me.
It says a lot for a band like that to be able to I guess have fun is not what I don't know, a band as big and as stratospheric as the Temptations to have audience interaction still when they don't need to, when they could just certainly play their songs and everyone would just go ape shit. Like that just makes me smile.
And what I found refreshing about this was that it's not often that we find on covers of this song, artists don't have fun with it. It's a very, like, they try to play it real straight and serious as if this song is, sacred and can't be played with. But the Temptations played with it, and I like that.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people feel that way about this. It's like a hallowed ground kind of song.
Is it that the song, like, I don't know if it's the song is hallowed ground because literally everyone has touched it. The question is it deemed, I keep referring to the term melancholy, but is that the case where it's the actual emotional content is hard to replace? So you're not going to try to do a version that doesn't include that feeling in it, which does kind of narrow your options to a certain point.
Which I totally agree with you, but then I would posit, why did 2,200 people decide to cover it then?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Like, it feels like there were so many better options of songs to be like the most covered song than this, Yeah. And that's not taking anything away from the song itself. Just it's, like you said, its coverability is hard. It's a hard song to cover. It's a hard act to follow. Dan, was Jay's last hit a hard act to follow, or are you going to follow it pretty well?
I'm at that point where I had to get selective because I don't know. I don't feel good about the rest of the list. Not that it's not full of good songs. I don't feel good about. I'm just going to basically blind myself out when it comes to versions. But I will stick instead with a sort of a theme of this round and go with a basic Coffee House version with a unique voice, no doubt. It's pretty standard guitar cover. It's got a little bass backing. Muted string quartet comes in eventually. I would say it's more ethereal than most of the covers on my list, and it's the Judy Collins version.
I don't have that one.
I ain't mad at that at all.
I didn't listen to that one.
That one did not come across my desk either, but I'm not mad about it.
I don't actually feel bad that I found something that hadn't hit either of you. Not in a good, not a bad. Just I went right past you. I feel like I caught something.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, you've hit my list 4 times. Zach's only hit it once.
Okay. Well, I guess in certain areas I was in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
See, Dan has hit my list 3 times now, and Jay, you still have yet to hit it.
I'm going to try to keep that trend going. But let's get
them all through.
Let's get your pick first.
So my next pick is a fun, but not really all that far out guitar imagining of the song. It's very standard, but it has its own character. It has its own flavor to it. And I thought it was just really good. And that was the Wes Montgomery. Finally getting into the more jazzy portion of my list. You can tell with Montgomery's kind of unique playing style that even though the song and the notes and the arrangement are what you expect, it still has a certain little extra bit to it that, is hard to put your finger on, no pun intended, but it does make the track very, very nice overall.
Yeah, cool. I did not go with that one.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't actually. I don't have a reason.
No, that's one. There's one that completely passed me by as well. So we're even now.
Yeah, I feel like from here on out, there's probably not going to be as much overlap with our list. I hope I'm right with that. Fingers crossed. Jay, please prove me right and don't take one off my list, please.
Well, we'll see. I'm going to go with one of the jazz blues guitarists that I threw just to follow up with what you said. It's a very cool instrumental guitar thing with no accompaniment whatsoever, and that is the Joe Saxa version. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. It's Sachse. It's a cool version of the song. He does a lot of really nifty things on that guitar that you would only hear from a jazzy blues guitarist.
Yeah, that one was one that I absolutely did not listen to.
Nope.
I feel like I should have. It would have
Well done.
fit in well with my list.
Right. This description was like, yeah, I should have. That would have fit in perfectly with a lot of the other stuff on my list.
Yeah, I like it because it was plain, like there's no other accompaniment. It was just the guitar, and it was very cool.
I'll have to look that one up after the show. As if we're not all completely tired of the song by now, let's just throw another
That's
one.
one unfortunate thing about this is like I think I'm good hearing the song for any version of the song for a few weeks.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, it's the reason I went so far afield with some of these picks, right? Like I felt like I had to get some variety in here.
Just to break out of the mold that everyone else was in. Dan, what broke out of your mold on your list?
Actually, I'm going to stay in the mold because I'm going to go with the quick, simple acoustic version, but I kind of had to because A, his voice works really well with the song, and B, it's from a movie named after the damn song. Let's go with Himesh Patel's version from Yesterday. I enjoyed the movie too.
I don't think I ever saw the movie.
It's interesting. Like, no, it was a great but was it an interesting concept? Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
You had mentioned some that were on your list to go back to. This was definitely in that category for me, and just didn't have a chance to circle back around to it.
Listen, there's not much. It's relatively quick. I don't even think they get the full version in the movie, but it worked.
Nice.
I'm just blinding myself off.
Yeah, you and me both, my friend. You and me both. Let's see. Of the tracks I have left. All right, let's go with this one. I think it's probably the more likely track of all that I have remaining to be on your list. So we're just going to throw it out there. It's a style that I don't know that I want every song to be covered in this jazzy fashion. And I don't really know if I even want Yesterday to be covered in this fashion. But I do have to admit that I still love the Count Basie and his orchestra version of this track. It is all over the place. It comes back around and then it zips out again. Count does his thing vocally and he does what he wants. He does not give a fuck. He just goes for it on this track. It is definitely not in the mold of, let's protect this track. Let's make sure that it stays traditional. No, no, that doesn't happen here. But it is awesome all the same for what it is.
I love how, first off, the organist cooks throughout the entire thing.
Dude.
And I like how there's this short bridge kind of in the middle and the band is like kind of kicks it back up and then had that realization like, oh wait, this is a cover of Yesterday and let's back down a little bit more and back and come back in.
It's like we're at a 12 now. Let's go down to like a 7.
Let's get back down here a little bit.
It's nonsensical for this to be a Yesterday cover, but it's so good.
Well, yeah, but also it's now the second time you've hit my list.
I haven't been counting.
I'm keeping track as we go.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm just losing songs as we go.
Yeah, that's the second time you've hit my list.
I'll take it. I will take it. And I will also take your next track.
All right, let's dip into the rock steady reggae sounds of the 60s. I think it was this late 60s when this was done. And that is by the Heptones. There's a lot of reggae versions of the song. Most of them sound like cod reggae, and this one doesn't.
So you're thinking maybe like a Jason Mraz cover would be in the works?
I hope not.
I realize how I said his last name.
Yes,
too,
I know,
because,
but
yeah.
Well, this is producer Nikki's fault because she like disparagingly calls him Jason Mraz, and without thinking about it, because that's the only way I've heard his name for like years now. That's just how I associate his name. So he is now Jason Mraz.
Fair enough.
It is show canon. Well, I'm going to assume, Dan, that you don't have any cod reggae coming up with your next song.
I don't, There's no 10cc on my list. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm down to. Let's you know what? I know it's not going to be anywhere, but I think I found of my list this the lead singer of the Letterman is probably the closest sounding to Paul McCartney in an otherwise relatively straight cover. Plenty of strings, and actually the guitar disappears in this, but like just drawn to the fact that you close your eyes and you're really close to Paul. Okay, that's worth keeping an eye on and tracking for mine.
Yeah, it was very faithful for sure, vocally faithful, and faithful all the way around. But especially like you said, yeah, it was vocally the closest that at least I had listened to.
Yep,
it was, and that's why I didn't put it on my list.
The longer we do this, the more I'm realizing I've misunderstood the assignment. So I guess I'll try to do better next time.
Well, I mean, honestly, like I misunderstood the assignment too. And that is why like I went with a lot of obscure stuff, because I was looking for stuff that made me happy listening to the song.
Yeah, I think we all did it right, or to say we all missed the assignment in our own.
We either all did it
ways.
right or we all did it wrong. One of the two.
Which means we all did it right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
a good
true.
way to look at it.
All right, Zach, what's next on yours?
So next on mine, as you would imagine, is going to come from an act that performed a song called Boogie Fever, because boogieing and Yesterday go fairly hand in hand. This is the Silvers. It is not at all a Boogie Fever-esque cover of Yesterday. It is very to the vest, very straightforward, very traditional, very much not what you would expect from what was effectively a 70s, at least disco adjacent, if not full disco act. It was good. It was fine. It wasn't going to knock your socks off. It was definitely in that category, but it was fine.
It bummed me out. Because I wanted a disco cover of the song.
Yes.
Yeah.
This guy gets it.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that's not what I got with that. I mean, I wasn't complaining about what the result, but I wanted Boogie Fever McCartney.
If only. If only. Maybe there is one out there. Maybe there's one on one of your lists, Jay. Maybe your next hit is going to be a disco cover of this song.
No, actually, I went hunting for one after that. After the Silvers debacle, I went hunting for one and I did not find one. I really wanted that on my list, but I did find. I guess it's not that far afield from the original. It's from Silken Soul by Gladys Knight and the Pips. Very soulful version of the song.
Yeah, you would expect if Gladys Knight is involved that if it's not soulful, then something is wrong.
Right. It wouldn't have made the cut. Wouldn't have made the album.
Very nice choice.
I saved it trying to throw you guys a bone.
That's kind. I
thought so.
We'll see if it ends up working out for either Dan or I in the end, and we're going to go with Dan first on that one.
Getting down the nitty gritty, so I'm trying to choose my things. But screw it, I'll pick my jazzy swinging cover for this and bring forth the trumpet of one Lee Morgan. Look, he's probably a name that should be far more well known in jazz history, if he isn't really already, as a member of Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers. But he does some very boppy things with the otherwise muted melody on this one.
Yeah, one of those artists that, like you said, should have had so much more shine. And in fact, what episode was it? It was our rush of, I believe, Dan, we were talking about record labels, and you had explicitly mentioned about Blue Note.
Blue Note, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, which Lee Morgan was one of the premier artists on that label.
Yeah.
And the follow-up to that, thanks, Freddie, foreshadowing.
You got to keep them coming back, you know?
But what's the next cover you came back to?
Boys, hate to say it, I gotta tap out.
Oh man,
I am out of tracks, so I will be the first idiot to sit here.
Oh man,
I get to kick back and watch the two of you duke it out, which means I have no more stress, which is actually the biggest one of all.
Damn it.
I feel bad. You want to borrow against the house? Like I have a couple.
I don't want your pity songs.
I don't know. There's two of these that you could probably get behind.
There was one more that I refuse to add to my list. So I'm on principle alone. If it's not on your list, I'll mention it at the end.
Okay.
But Jay, by all means.
All right. Well, Dan went with his trumpeter. So I guess I'll follow up with mine for that pure trumpety goodness. Honestly, just a couple of years ago is Herb Alpert. You wouldn't expect to hear his name in 2021, but he did a trumpet cover of Yesterday.
Weren't we talking literally a couple of months ago when we did our year end that we couldn't believe that he had put a record out in 2023?
Yeah. Dude's still kicking.
Wild.
He's still
Wish
kicking. He's still going.
Yeah. 89 years young. Getting after it.
Still swinging, if you will.
Still swinging. Good for you, Herb. Good for you.
The Tijuana Brass is no longer playing with him, but...
Hey, you know what? You soldier on.
I would reckon not at this point.
Right. You soldier on. That would have to be... That still had to be a pretty entertaining cover as well.
I'm sure.
Oh, hell yeah. Dan, what other entertaining covers do you have left in your nitty gritty?
Well, it's funny that you tried to pass one of those up. I feel like this is just acceptance of my silver medal here. But I found my new favorite acoustic version, and it comes with some pity. A pity party, as a matter of fact. It's Puddle's Pity Party, joined
With
by Casey Abrams on this one.
Exquisite.
I mean, if you know his range, it's actually kind of a bit of a departure because he does sound a lot like Paul on this one. But he and Abrams throw some just angelic harmony, and the simple stripped down work of an acoustic guitar and an upright bass, I think are the perfect platform for this song. If you're going to strip it all the way down, that's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah. I am weirdly kind of a fan of Casey Abrams. I don't want to be, but he is like one of the most bizarre Idol contestants that has gone on to do just some strange things on the internet, and I'm here for it.
Don't ruin him by telling me he was on fucking American Idol.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know a thing about him before Postmodern Jukebox, so
yeah, so
I'm just going to pretend I did not hear that.
Sorry, but he and Haley Reinhart both were on American Idol.
I knew she was, but she's also far more talented, and I can easily, again, like that one, I can put that to the side for her as well.
If it helps, he got on American Idol and did like the Screaming Jay Hawkins version of "I Put a Spell on You."
Well, yes, that actually does. Bravo, sir, bravo.
I don't think Casey Abrams was there when we saw Postmodern Jukebox live. Haley Reinhart absolutely was, and was absolutely transcendent. Highly recommended if you get a chance. I'm assuming they're still touring. I think Scott Bradley is still doing the thing. Worth it.
As far as I know, they have like multiple companies touring now.
Holy shit. Good for them. That's awesome. But not as awesome as Jay's next track.
Oh, no, it's probably more awesome than my next track. I'm going to do, for the first time on my list, I'm going to throw one out there that I don't even like. And that is the gutter punk version of the song as done by Nicotine. It is screeching. It is borderline unlistenable, but it was different.
I mean, you say gutter punk, and I'm instantly in.
Well, I'll give it a try.
Oh, you won't like it.
But almost, isn't that the point?
Yeah, kind of.
Like, it seems counterintuitive, but that feels like that's what we're trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't all be winners.
Nope.
No, they can't.
Very few of the 2,200 can be winners mathematically. Oh, I'm listening right now. That's atrocious, dude.
I called it.
You were wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Oh, I should have believed. Dan, I don't even have to ask. I already believe in your next song.
Which is interesting because this whole thing, the whole write-up starts, it's a little rough to start with, but it's still a very unique take, and it actually improves when this pair drops back into their native Spanish, and it works really well then. It is the version by Tito Puente and La Lupe.
I almost went with that one.
You were looking for different. That was different.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
That fits. Yeah, different doesn't always mean good.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
No, like I said, kind of rough, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Jay, what is it for your next track?
You know what? I'm going to do my last totally different version from the other things I've got on my list. And that is the Grassmasters cover. The weeping fiddle playing that main melody doesn't reduce or change the feeling of the song in any way, but it was a different vibe from everything else that I had.
Yeah, it hits different, but it hits not even better, but it's a different feeling.
Yeah, it's different.
It's a different vibe.
And here I was hoping that you wouldn't go with something as different, even maybe another one that you're like, you know what, I'm at this point, so I'll throw another one out that I didn't like. So you had some shit one so I could say that was the shit that you were going to toss out as the final thing in this show.
Was that your way of saying you have no more?
I held Tito Puente till the very end.
Oh man, we have a winner, folks. Jay, our first and only cover, perhaps only, this might be the last one, our first Coverlutions champion. Jay, as your reward, I said you got nothing. I kind of lied. You do get a victory lap to go over the rest of your tracks in your list, if you'd like.
I can do that. I only have two more. So it came real close. I was starting to get nervous, although I shouldn't have been because Dan and I crossed off 4 songs together. So I shouldn't have been too nervous, but I have 2 more. One of them is somewhat of an internet sensation. Her name's Kyla, and she's like the Filipino Whitney. Her voice is butter, and she did some really cool like runs with the song that I've never heard anyone else attempt to pull off. Like, it's just a cool version. Nice. And it's just the video, if you pull that up on YouTube, it's just her in a dark room singing the song. It's really well done. And the other one is an a cappella version that is not quite as convincing as the Boyz II Men version, but it is still a wicked cool arrangement done by Sixth Wave.
Excellent. Fantastic lists all the way around. Y'all said that we didn't nail the assignment. I think it's A+ for the whole team, for the whole school.
I think so too. Good variety too. Like I was worried that all of our lists, which is really why the other reason I went so far afield on this, I was worried that we were all going to have like straightforward, like, oh, they did a really good job, and it's the same.
Well, and I'm sure you guys ran into a lot of the same thing too, is that I probably had easily, of the stuff that I listened to, like 10 that just dropped off for that reason, that I could not tell one artist. Like if I like you run a 3 off and it didn't sound like you just had 3 songs on repeat or 1 song on repeat instead of 3 back to back. So like if it was too samey to everything else, like if I could sit here and go, yeah, I just heard that 10 minutes ago, I was like, nah, you're too late. Sorry.
For sure.
Yeah, like when Paul McCartney redoing it as a solo artist in the mid 80s is more different than your cover of the song.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's a good rule to have. I think another good rule is the Maroon 5 cover on the Howard Stern show was disqualified automatically.
Yep. Because it was Maroon 5?
Because it was Adam Levine. Yeah.
Oh, fair. It was. I don't know if y'all listened to it, but
no,
it was exactly what you thought and worse than you thought at the same time.
Yep.
Because I saw Adam Levine covering Paul McCartney and went, nah.
Next video.
I listened to
Next
it.
Song.
I listened to it on the off chance because I hate that I love his cover of Purple Rain that he did on Howard Stern's thing. I hate that it's good.
Yeah,
that's so intrigued.
It like
so conflicted.
Adam sings the first verse and does the guitar solo himself, and it's surprisingly good. The second verse you can skip because it's Pat Monahan. But
oh fuck.
I mean, before you said that, I would much rather Pat Monahan than Adam Levine if I had to choose. Not a great choice, mind you, but it's where we're at.
Yeah, God. No. Just skip the second verse, but Adam Levine's part is surprisingly well done.
Just add Chad Kroeger so I can have a trifecta from hell.
What a shit deserted island scenario.
Yeah.
Pick your poison. God.
The worst shag, marry, kill ever.
Oh shit. Well, hopefully we will not be encountering Adam Levine or Pat Monahan or Chad Kroger for that measure for at least the very near future of this here podcast. We kind of alluded to it earlier in the show. Our next episode, should we spoil it a little bit, boys? What do you think? Or
I
should we
mean,
keep it to the vest?
yeah, well, let's play it close to the vest since we tend not to know what's happening ever.
We won't spoil it for us or for you. So you're
Right.
going to have to come back to your podcast provider of choice next week. Set it up for follows, for notifications, however your podcast provider of choice does it for you. So you can always know when the Fairly KickAss podcast is coming at you new. And you can also find out through our social media channels in all the places that you would expect, including at Fairly KickAss on Twitter, at Fairly KickAss on Instagram, at Fairly KickAss on TikTok. FairlyKickAss.com is our website. It's also where you'll find the aforementioned ride-along playlist in Spotify if you wanted to listen to all the songs that we heard.
This might be the worst one to ride along with, unless it's 63 maybe versions of the same song.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of yesterday. Only the brave venture forth.
Indeed. But if you just really, really like this song, then this is the playlist for you. So there probably will be a few also that are not on Spotify because maybe they're live covers, maybe they're just one-off performances. But I think the majority we will have on that playlist. So check that out if you'd like. Check out all of our past episodes. We still have a ton of stuff that is Spotify exclusive for the time being. We're slowly moving that over outside of the Spotify exclusivity. But until we do that, search for Fairly KickAss on Spotify. You'll find all of our old content and check it out. And then if you need to get a hold of us in the traditional method, email, it's fairlykickass@gmail.com. We'll get you right to us. And with that, boys, we close this session of Coverlutions unless you have any parting words for the people.
I will be listening to literally any other song in the very near future.